Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burn the Ship. New friend, new connection of mine here. This is the podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs about entrepreneurship. We want to connect you with people that can help you go all in on your business. So I have my friend Duncan here. Thank you for being here, my friend. I'm excited to get to talk to you a little bit more. But the things that we hope to answer are, hey, how can you overcome some of the obstacles that you're feeling in your small business? So we bring entrepreneurs here. They tell their story. They tell us what they do well in business and kind of help us bottle up those tips and tricks. So thanks for tuning in. Duncan, my friend, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do and a little bit about your story.
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, you might want to excuse my dog for
No, it's
one
all good.
second.
It's all good.
So I'm Duncan. So I'm the founder and executive director at the Burnout Clinic. Our business focuses on helping workplace leaders and entrepreneurs, small business owners, recover from burnout. So I think that's the primary goal. Is there's a huge difference between prevention, which most people are probably familiar with, and the recovery process. And so as a clinic, our signature work is our 2 day uh, rapid burnout retreats. So we fly people into our resorts. They spend 7 days all inclusive, and 2 of those days they spend with us with some rapid intervention to clear out all the limiting beliefs, suppressed emotions, and inner conflicts that drive every leader's burnout at the root cause.
Wow. So tell me about kind of the story of how you got into this place. I know this kind of spawned from some remedy that you put together for yourself, and you kind of innovated into some sort of into a business idea. So tell me a little bit about that development and how things permeated in that direction.
Yeah, so wow. My story started off with burnout. So this is during a time when burnout wasn't even a thing. I thought I was having a quarter life crisis. So, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to have, to have quarter life. And that was, in 2008. So almost a decade, more than a decade in that time. So I was in a corporate high tech startup. So the modern day startup was a $150 million startup. I went from zero customers to 3 million customers, got acquired. And this was during the time where, you know, Facebook was still a web page, Apple was still selling computers,
Hmm.
wasn't on the phone yet. And I was given the infamous BlackBerry. I don't know if any of your audience might relate to the BlackBerry. And I start to go day to day, right? And a lot of us feel it today as well because we're tethered to our devices. My background is actually in computer engineering. I spent a decade in there as a computer engineer in that space. And when I quote unquote burned out, now it's called burnout, but back then it was a quarter life crisis. My relationships imploded. I nervous picked my entire right eyebrow off. I couldn't see myself in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years what my career will look like. And modeling after even my own seniors, right? The directors and VPs of my company. I didn't want to be like them. And so, much like a lot of people who are going through today's, you can call it the great resignation or the great reshuffle, the great reawakening is, we're leaving the workplace to sort of figure out who we are and why we want to do the things we do. And, before I became a clinician in a space called neurolinguistic programming, I wanted to figure out that solution as an engineer. Meaning is back then it was so popular, and many entrepreneurs may relate with this. Is you're burning out, your passion is gone. People rely on you, the burden of responsibilities on your shoulders. But your soul is gone, and you don't want to just eat, pray, love, or backpack your way to your salvation and hope for some transformational moment, right? And so for me, I want to take a little bit more of a pragmatic, evidence-based approach towards, what is burnout, or what is these identity crises, and how do we use them or leverage them as ways to really, find ourselves. And when we find ourselves, really explore the magic in the life and the zeal, right, around where we want to go moving forward. And, I'll share a story of one of my clients that I just finished a few weeks ago. Entrepreneur thought he was going to shut down during the pandemic and ended up to, 10x his business. And someone came to him and said, can I buy your business out? And he was like, why can't I buy your business out? But his challenge was, can I see myself doing this in the next 10 years? Because, you know, whether or not I can buy him out, I'm kind of going through this blah moment. I'm burning out. It's a blah moment. My passion is gone. How can I really not just take my business to the next level, but in his case, build a legacy, build, reconnect back to himself and really find that life and passion and love again for his business and be successful in a very different way. So, my story kind of goes full circle to a lot of entrepreneurs who might be experiencing some of similar stories, especially during and especially post pandemic. Now that things are reopening back up.
Sure. So Yeah, I've experienced this myself, a little bit of burnout, and I've always been fortunate enough to like, I've been in my industry a little over 5 years. So that first phase of burnout that I felt in the payments industry was renegotiated by COVID for me. My entire business and the way that we did business and the way that we met people and who our ideal client was, um, not all the way changed, but shifted dramatically because of the way that we were meeting people. So tell me about the remedy. Tell me what the engineering side of your brain put together as far as how are we going to be able to actually treat this symptom of all the things that are going on around us. I'm curious about that from a scientific perspective, and then
Ah,
what
So,
the actual
so
experience is like.
so as an engineer, you can call it applied scientist. I mean, obviously, I'm not creating my own science. I'm looking for the science that's out there already. And so there is a practice called neuro-linguistic programming. Some people might be familiar with it from Tony Robbins' work, right? So Tony Robbins is really big on NLP. But the surprising thing behind NLP was originally designed for therapists at what we call a master practitioner level. They have interventions that target trauma. They target all the deep-rooted issues that cause people to, especially like essentially down spiral, where you want to go from point A to point B, and you down spiral in a very different way. So, for those who are connected to sort of the Tony Robbins' world, and you wonder why during his almost entertainment venues, even though he doesn't use the deep level NLP stuff there, but he always pulls out people who are like, not just depressed, but borderline suicidal. So you'll see this in his typical shows. And it's because he knows the deep level work, right? He understands that he has teams of people who can get people out of it. And so as an innovation, which, sort of, I had to think differently through this specific problem was there's a huge stigma in the workplace around not just burnout, but mental health as a whole. I know burnout got popularized because of the pandemic. It started off with high anxiety and mental health and then went to burnout. But pre pandemic, burnout was already hovering around 40% in the workplace. Today, the latest stats show around 75% of the workplace experiencing burnout. The latest studies show that 95% of HR experiencing burnout. And so it's sort of a side effect of the pandemic, just because everything's always been in crisis management mode and
Sure.
we've been in hypervigilance. And so the secret sauce with NLP is around, not the prevention stuff, right? So most of us, especially HR, spend a lot of dollars on prevention, which is self-care, go journaling, go, take an ice bath, or go for a walk, or some breathing exercises. And while they're great prevention exercises, and again, I want to preface this: an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Is very different than when you are actually going through burnout. It's a little bit different. And so what NLP does is it looks at how you not just psychologically relate to your nervous system, but there's a nervous system component towards towards all the symptomology around burnout, which is high anxiety, fatigue, exhaustion, cynicism, performance efficacy challenges, and even identity crises. And so when these things happen, there is a neurological component to it. And what NLP does as sort of our treatment or our secret sauce is our ability to um, disrupt and clear those relationships in the neurology so that all of the suppressed emotions, the inner conflicts, the compulsive beliefs that drive us to keep doing things, right? Even though we know we should stop, but we keep doing it anyways. And so it's just a very effective means to clear that out very quickly. Not saying it's the only thing out there, but it's one of the more effective ways out there. And that's why we combine it with vacations, because it's so quick, meaning is you don't have to spend, 8, 9 months in talk therapy or a month in EMDR. You can use this approach, spend 2 days to clear out everything that's weighing literally your nervous system, clear that out, regain the bandwidth, the mental emotional bandwidth, and enjoy the next 5 days in paradise in our retreats, which makes us a little bit different with how we treat and address burnout.
Sure. Where do you guys go?
Yeah, so we just came back from St. Lucia.
Oh,
So,
cool.
we kind of locked down during the pandemic. We started in Belize actually in end of 2018-19 is when we started in Belize. And then the pandemic shut us down, and April was our first, reopening. We went to St. Lucia. In July, we'll be in Mexico, in Hobart, Mexico, and in November, we'll be in Grenada.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's our 2022 lineup.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. So tell me kind of what's next for you guys. Are you guys looking at continuing to combine NLP with other services? You guys continuing to kind of up the agenda on what you're doing as far as travel wise? What are you guys' goals and development for your business look like over the next year or two?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because we were all retreat focused pre-pandemic, and that's our business model. You can imagine as an entrepreneur when all the borders shut down and no planes are flying out and your entire business model is gone. Spend almost 2.5 years working with workplaces. And so, moving away from one-on-one clinical intervention, we decided to do more group stuff, right? So how to do group training, how to build burnout response and recovery within workplaces, how to train managers to understand this, and how to bring well-being in the workplace, which is a huge one, especially during the Great Resignation. And so it's a combination approach now where starting slow again, back to our burnout retreats, just because we started in Canada, so we're very restricted here in Canada. We're just a little bit more sensitive, I guess. And so I'm a little bit more sensitive, so opening up a little bit slower, but in the same time also working with small business leaders and entrepreneurs and HR heads to really bring in sort of what burnout response is going to look like, because we're all in what we call the post-pandemic recovery, and burnout is a big part of that equation. And so I'm very part of it's not just excited for the business, but motivated as a change maker myself, to help business leaders solve this issue. Because if we don't, we're going to hit a mental emotional crisis, sort of moving forward as a social whole. So
Sure.
something that's very important for me.
And you guys have some digital resources out there too, right? You guys have some stuff where you can reach people all over.
Yeah. So for those who are interested, our burnout recovery challenge is starting in May, starting tomorrow, actually. So it's a 30-day challenge. This is where we differentiate the difference between prevention and recovery. People spend 5 weeks with us, just 1.5 hours each week. They go through training. So it's all online and digital. And every week they learn new skills for mental and emotional regulation. And in this case, what makes this a little bit different, we're doing a competition. So for those who do finish the challenge, are entered in to win a trip to Jamaica to experience actually our burnout
Oh wow.
retreats this year. So for those who are interested, do sign up at the burnoutrecoverychallenge.com.
Well, yeah, that's actually really cool. I was looking at kind of doing my research before we talked, and that's really, really interesting. So tell me a little bit more about the business side of things. So
Yeah.
you've drummed up this business model. COVID hits and kind of renegotiate some of that to you, and you have to kind of bide your time until now. What were some of the other kind of hidden obstacles within those changes and manifestations of your business that you had to make over those times?
So one part of it was no sales team, right? So
Right.
if you can't bring in a full sales force where the entire market's not very open to it right now. So that was a really big one. Downsizing all our practitioners, right? So it just became me and my wife at that time during the pandemic just to support it. And so a lot of it became public service announcement, right, for the pandemic. And now it's interesting as a business because when we have a completely new product offering, we're focused now on as well with our burnout retreats with the systemic pieces, which is training and development and enabling and equipping workplace leaders and companies to gain that response. So, so that being said, now we're integrating. So how do we integrate a B2B offering and a B2C offering? So it's like a B2B2C offering now,
Mm-hmm.
almost in a way. And as of today, I'm rebuilding my sales team now that things are reopening up. We're rebuilding our sales team and just getting back out there, right? So I think as a hopefully inspiration to other business owners who might have hit the brakes a little bit during the pandemic and are looking to reopen. This is a good time to reopen and and not be risk adverse and just go out there and do it, right? So that's what I'm doing right now in my business.
Sure. Do you think your understanding of both prevention and treatment of burnout has helped you persist through the business challenges that you've had over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so recovery is a powerful one just because a lot of us are, we use the word like survival mode, right? And so when you're in survival mode, it means you're actually going through it. Whereas prevention is usually you're healthy, right? So in some, I call it the successful entrepreneurs, where everything is all lined up, they have the work-life balance, everything is great. Prevention is almost a 10xer, right? Because you're doing well, you want to take it to the next level. But to speak out to entrepreneurs who aren't there yet, right? Whether they've hit their success and have hit a little bit of a lull or just been struggling completely. A lot of it on the recovery side has taught me the skills to clear baggage, right? So, I think the best analogy I love using is, most of us love the biohacking. We love the pretty shiny thing. So it's almost like as a business owner, we want to build a business that's a pretty shiny rocket, has all the supercomputers, the best materials, the best talent, the best everything. But if there's an anchor weighed to your rocket ship, no matter all of the best high octane fuel you use that you're trying to get out of this atmosphere, if there's an anchor weighed to you, you're going to get pulled down. And the faster you go, the more resistance there is. So learning the skills to cut that anchor, to cut that tether, really allows you to catapult. And so having even gone through, and not just surviving, but really breaking through this pandemic, is having those skills to learn how to release all of the fear, the anxiety, all the things that we sort of hold on to during survival mode, especially during the pandemic, but really, across our entire lives, right? A lot of the things that we fear the most manifest during early childhood, and we project that into our future. And all of our clients that come through who do the burnout retreats all clear things down to childhood. And so you can imagine when they have that sense of liberation, that feeling of liberation, like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually went through life sort of hitting the gas and the brakes at the same time. And now that I've cleared that, I'm not hitting the brakes, what it can mean for me if I just went, full gas all the way. So that's the general feedback and testimonials we get back from all our clients going through this process.
Absolutely. And it seems that you guys have a pretty unique you have a pretty unique understanding as well as desire to help people. You know what I mean? I think that's one thing that you have that kind of sets you apart is that everything that you do comes from a place of, oh, I want to bring this type of value to people's lives. What would you say as you continue to kind of accomplish your goals and develop your business with the Burnout Clinic? Where do you see yourself reinvesting that time as you kind of you continue to automate and integrate the things that make the Burnout Clinic valuable to the people that it's valuable to?
Yeah, right. So, we have a broad mission, right? Our mission is to end workplace burnout and empower the way we work. So, as an innovator, I'm always there to look at, new ways to do things. And so now it's to stop the bleed, right? So there's a lot of work there, but as that automates and scales and optimizes and my business grows, I mean, my vision for the future is, how can we bring technology in the mix? Right now, we're a non-technology type of company. We're like a family practice, essentially. But I do want to bring in VR, right? I want to bring in other components of, what technology can do to really amplify the results that we're getting from a clinical lens and use technology as a catalyst and amplifier for that. So we can really not just deepen our mission, but really realize more impact for a lot more people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, my friend. You guys have a unique mission. And it's one step at a time. You kind of got to reverse engineer the full solution to kind of, I guess it's kind of the goal is to make your initial business, the burnout clinic, obsolete because you want to kind of get to
Yeah.
the problem before that. So,
Mm.
interesting paradox you have, my friend. I'm interested to see how it goes for you. Tell me if we have people in the audience that want to talk to you, do some business with you, pick your brain about anything. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we're on all our socials. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can always reach out to us via any of those channels or email at hello@theburnouttclinic.com. Or just check out our website for our resources. There's a really great place to start there. And I think the really great place to start is actually the burnoutrecoverychallenge.com. So you'll enter in our community, you'll get access to all our resources, go through our trainings, and really just, slow work your way towards recovery, and then you can tap into all our other stuff like burnout retreats and stuff that are available there for anyone who's interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one more thing, always at the end of Burn the Ship here, we kind of sum things up the same way. There was a moment, there was a moment that you burned the ship that you decided, hey, I'm going all in on my business. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm excited about. Um, Tell me about that moment. What did it feel like to go all in on your business and commit in a certain direction? And why should other people do that as well?
Yeah, so it sounds almost weird, almost meta, but it was burnout, right? So some people might think burnout's a bad thing, but it's actually two sides of the same coin, right? Because if you liberate yourself from burnout, then what you're going to find is freedom, right? And so for me, that's where I found my mission. Before, you can imagine, I was an engineer, I worked a corporate life. I was more the, what we call it, the rat race, right? You're just a
Hmm.
cog in the wheel. And it was through burnout that I found sort of at a very deep level what I wanted to do and really to spend my rest of my life in, right? And so whether it's the burnout clinic or helping people, or really my personal mission is, to help people achieve greatness and unleash their potential, right? Burnout just happens to be part of my story, and and obviously the story of the people coming through the clinic. But whether I close a clinic or I start something new or whatever my journey was since recovering from burnout has always been around, how to elevate humanity, right, or empower humanity in a different way.
Absolutely. That's inspiring, my friend. Those are inspiring words.
Yeah.
I think all of us start this small business journey with a desire to help humanity. We want to solve a problem. We want to gain financially from that. We want some sort of emotional satisfaction from that. But I think you're coming at your business from a really, really good place. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast today, my friend. If you have anything else that you want to say, kind of in closing, the floor is yours. I've loved everything that you've said, but we're going to get out of here on that note. That was a good one.
All right. Thanks, Bailey. And again, to the audience, if you want to connect, burnoutrecoverychallenge.com, perfect place to start.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. Love to have you back soon.
All right. Thank you, Bailey.
All right. Thanks, everybody.